One channel that I wanted to mention, but for some reason it's completely slipped my mind in the last episode, was Fox Kids, which is actually not a bad thing because it means that I can talk about it in more of a fleshed out way than what I would have done if I'd mixed it up with other channels in a long video. I know that some people who watch the videos love the kids TV channels and they're very important to you guys, and particularly this one, Fox Kids. This channel came a little late for me. I had Swindon Cable around that time, but I don't remember it being on there, so I didn't watch it a lot, but I knew the shows that were played on it from other channels. In 1996 there were a number of popular children's channels and strands in the UK. The BBC and ITV were broadcasting their children's strands on weekend mornings, as well as mid-morning or lunchtime slots on their stations and in the afternoon slots after school. The Disney Channel, the Children's Channel, Nickelodeon and the Cartoon Network were all broadcasting in 1996 on analogue satellite and various cable companies, mostly during the day until 7 o'clock in the evening. Their audiences were broadly the same, under 12s. There wasn't really any middle ground between kids and grown-ups, so if you were a teenager, the only thing you had really was family programming like Top of the Pops, or Saturday evening programs like Noel Edmonds or Cilla Black. God. There were attempts though. ITV had Press Gang and a show called Spats. Press Gang was really good, I actually quite like that one. And BBC had Grange Hill and Biker Grove, but that was all part of their licence agreement to cover the under 15s. They had to do it. The Children's Channel formed in 1984. TCC's parent company was called Starstream, and this was a group of 4 companies that had a 25% share each in the company. Those were originally BT, DC Thompson, known for the Beano and the Dandy, Central Television, and Thames Television, famous for... BT sold its share to Flextech in 1990. By 1995, they had 100% of it. Meanwhile, in the US, a deal was being made with Fox and Saban Entertainment, and they started a channel in America called Fox Kids, airing content from Fox along with Saban's back catalogue of productions. They made shows like Inspector Gadget, Power Rangers, Transformers, and anything with the word Deke at the end. Yes, I know, we all want it to say dick, but that would be very inappropriate for a child to wake up in the night and see a massive dick floating out the window. Anyway, Saban had a deal with Marvel, who produced many cartoons at the time, such as Spider-Man and X-Men and all that kind of stuff, and let's just say they weren't short of content. Anyway, 1996 happened and Fox Kids approached Flextech, and Fox Kids programmes were already being played on TCC, so it made sense for them to have a strong presence with an existing and fairly successful kids TV station in the UK. TCC wasn't owned by American broadcasters and it was generally pan-European. I won't go into this too much, but basically Fox wanted a full 50% share of TCC and Flextech were like, great. So yeah, that's the end of the video. Thanks for watching, and if you liked it, don't forget to... No, they weren't actually like that. They said, fuck off you twats, take your Power Rangers and jog on. Fox Kids were eager to get in on the action, but it so happened that Sky and Fox had a really good relationship, considering that Sky's mum was News International, holding a 40% share in Sky, and News International was also Fox's mum. Flextech said, everything's cool, it's all cool, so very cool. In fact, Brett Harmon, managing director of Flextech, said the decision to end negotiations was amicable and the relationship between the two companies involved have not been harmed. Flextech will continue to buy programming from Fox on its channels. It was so cool that 3 months later in September, probably after a load of cups of tea and probably loads of biscuits, Fox biscuits, they announced that Fox Kids would be launching in October 1996. Going into 1997, TCC and Flextech would struggle to keep TCC relevant. They saw a gap in the market though and had already started putting their focus into the teen market with Trouble. I mentioned Trouble in episode 2, so go and have a look at that. On the 4th of April 1998, TCC would close down. Well, kind of. In the Nordic region, TCC was contracted to stay on air until the year 2000, and it didn't really feature much new content as it was described as a zombie channel, echoing what it once was until it was taken over by Minimax in October 2000. In the UK, Trouble would join Sky Digital. When the channel launched, it would have some new shows, but it would also have some old shows that were already on TV in the UK, so the BBC or ITV would have aired these like on a Saturday morning slot, but they were usually a year or two behind, airing in the US originally or wherever it was from. The other thing is that many TCC shows had moved over from TCC to Fox Kids, like Eek the Cat and Teenage Mutant Ninja / Hero Turtles. At some point they'd play shows like Beyblade, Sailor Moon, Sonic X, Totally Spies, Dennis the Menace that used to be on Children's Channel,
Unlikely story.
and X-Men. In 2001, Fox Kids was bought by Disney, but instead of Disney branding it at this stage, they carried on until 2005, when Fox Kids European operations was rebranded as Jetix. Jetix started as a strand on Fox Kids, but it would end up taking up the whole channel. It pretty much did the same thing but with newer shows, and they cut out the old ones. Plus, Disney owned ABC, so they tried to get some more ABC programming on Jetix. And they still had the Saban deal. Jetix lasted until 2009 when its owners, Disney, decided that they were going to change its name. So one day the channel closed like regular, and the next day it opened as Disney XD.
This is Disney XD, on TV, online, everywhere.
Unfortunately, this is where my imagination gets dark and it gets a bit sad, because at some point this poor little Jetix thought he was going to go to sleep and getting up in the morning. He's not, so there's only a couple of options. 1, he's still asleep. 2, that's his final sleep and he never wakes up. 3, he's stuck in 1973 and in a coma.
Anything happens to this motor and I come over your houses and stamp on all your toys. Got it? Good kids.
Anyway, Disney took over from Jetix, and I think, looking at it, they had about a 5 years shelf life on every show. So anything that had been on more than 5 years kind of seemed a bit dated or wasn't relevant. So that meant a lot of the old content got dropped, but if Disney was interested, they would do a reboot, which is what they've done a few times now. You had Marvel content like Spider-Man and Guardians of the Galaxy and the other shows such as Gravity Falls and Phineas and Ferb, and also Big City Greens. But I personally think Disney XD was a reaction to the new type of kids shows that was coming from other places, such as Cartoon Network. They had programs like The Regular Show and Clarence and the Amazing World of Gumball and Adventure Time, which is essential millennial television that you need to watch if you haven't already. You could also say the same for Steven Universe. Many of them are set in weird worlds. They have a bit of an odd feel and they have storylines that make kids think about things a bit more. The reason I mention those is that Cartoon Network has been noted for their LGBTQ+ characters and storylines, something which other channels, especially Disney, had been struggling to represent. For years, cartoons have just gone along with something called queer coding characters, which is not openly saying that they were LGBTQ, but implying it. Nickelodeon, for instance, had been queer coding for years, however, they managed to make it clear with the characters from In the Loud House. And although Disney had been struggling, they cracked it a few years ago with a show called The Owl House, which introduced Disney's first bisexual protagonist. They also represent LGBTQ well in Amphibia. Happy Pride Month, by the way, thought I'd slip that in there. Around this, though, a lot of the shows are set in fantasy worlds and exploring things like caring, but not in the standard 1980s Care Bear way. Anyway, roll on October 2020, and Disney decided to close all of its linear TV channels across the world. There are a couple of exceptions, but many countries had their own version of Disney Channel and Disney XD, along with Disney Junior as well, that got removed from almost everyone's screens. Disney left it to focus on Disney Plus, which is where many of its programs are now. The loss of the Disney channels are the start of a number of changes to kids TV in the UK, with the closure of CITV coming and moving its focus to kids content on ITVX, along with the BBC's move to try and get CBBC online only. You have to wonder whether these moves are devaluing the digital, satellite and cables TV services. We still have the pop channels and all the Nickelodeon channels and the Cartoon Network channels, but taking all of the channels that we've lost on linear TV within 5 years, it must be something within like a third of our kids channels. Now, nobody knows what this is going to mean in about 5 years' time. Does this mean that Sky is going to put all their efforts into Sky Stream and have all of their content on there rather than have it in satellites? Or does it mean that Sky are going to focus more on their own channels rather than investing in others, because that's the only way it will be able to survive if the satellites are switched off? I wonder this because earlier this year in February, Sky launched Sky Kids, which is a linear TV channel. It's on the old EPG number as Disney. Now, a fun fact about Sky Kids is that it was originally going to launch in 1986, part of Rupert Murdoch's bid for Sky and some various things that it was going to do with it, but it ended up not going for that and actually ended up going for the Children's Channel, which now brings us full circle. So I hope you didn't mind this short excursion before the next episode. I'm off to Swindon for next week, so I'm not going to be working on videos, but I will be when I get back. I've plugged my VCR in though, and I've resurrected my old channel, which is called the KP Freezer, and it's where I used to upload old videos from VHS and stuff, so I'm doing that again now. That's it for now. If you like the video, press like, don't forget to share it, and press subscribe if you want to find out when the next video's coming out. Thank you so much, by the way, if you've already subscribed. We're coming up towards the 1,000 mark. Woo! I've been Johnny Robinson, and I'll still be Johnny Robinson after this video is finished. Thank you, bye!